Guys, crazy breaking news. Donald Trump has fired Pam Bondi. You may know her as the woman that refused to release the Epstein files, the head of the DOJ, or more formally as the Attorney General. It's also been reported that she begged Donald Trump to let her keep her job. Here is everything that you need to know. So according to Fox News, she was fired last night as she was on her way back to D.C. from Florida, so we could only assume that she got a quote-unquote breakup text from Trump telling her that she was let go. And according to the Daily Mail, this morning, back in D.C., she reportedly begged Donald Trump to let her keep her job in the White House. Many are suspecting that the reason she was fired is because of the April 14th deadline that has been given to her by Congress to show up in front of Congress and testify about her mishandlings of the Epstein files. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter if she's the head of the DOJ or not, that subpoena is still active. She will still be forced to show up and testify. What I think this signals on a deeper level is that Donald Trump is freaking out because he knows he's losing the support of the American people. From his abysmal speech on the war in Iran last night, to his plummeting approval ratings, now holding the lowest approval rating that any president has ever at this point in their term, he knows that he's losing the support of the American people. But he's a narcissist, it'll never be his fault, it will always be everybody else's fault. So this is why he's went on this firing rampage of kicking out Kristi Noem and now kicking out Pam Bondi. That's all for now, I'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Pam Bondi is out. President Trump just fired the Attorney General of the United States. Bondi lasted about a year and 2 months in this job. Now, rumblings about her being fired have been circulating intensely for the last couple of days, but really we've been hearing about it for the last few months, and now it's here. Trump just posted to his social media page saying that Bondi is a great American patriot and a loyal friend. He said, "We love Pam, and she will be transitioning into a much needed and important job in the private sector," though he did not say exactly what that job would be. Now, just yesterday morning, Bondi was with Trump at the Supreme Court oral arguments for birthright citizenship. And then yesterday afternoon, when Trump was asked by reporters if he was going to fire Bondi, Trump praised her, saying she's a wonderful person and she's doing a good job. But that didn't stop Trump from announcing her firing this morning. Now, here's the thing. Bondi has been so loyal to President Trump, doing almost everything in her legal power to do what he wants. But Trump has been frustrated with her lack of success in the courtroom, prosecuting people that Trump sees as his enemies, like James Comey, the former FBI director, and Letitia James, the prosecutor who went after him in New York. And when it came to the Epstein files, even Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, said on the record that everybody in the White House thinks that Pam Bondi whiffed on the Epstein issue. Bondi had said that the Epstein client list was on her desk, and then she brought all those influencers to the White House and gave them binders full of nothing. And of course, when Congress passed the Epstein File Transparency Act, Bondi couldn't and still hasn't produced all the documents required under the law. And speaking of the Epstein files, Bondi was subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee and is supposed to be deposed about her handling of the Epstein files on April 14th. Whether that's going to still happen, we just don't know. So what's going to happen to the Department of Justice? Well, according to the president, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal lawyer, is going to take over temporarily as acting Attorney General until Trump can nominate a new person to be the next Attorney General. And then brace yourself, because we are going to be getting an explosive confirmation hearing for just about anyone that Trump nominates.
Donald Trump said the quiet part out loud and, well, fucked up. But that's not a surprise. He does that every day. Says something stupid, fucks up. That's who Donald Trump is. But what he said the other day is going to come back to haunt him. And I want to ask the Trumplefucks that might be listening to this, how do you feel about this? Now, what I'm telling you, you wouldn't have seen on Fox News, but there is video out there, so you can do your own research and check it out. Donald Trump was talking to a crowd of people. He was explaining to them how we've got to focus our money on protecting this country, put it into the Defense Department. A Defense Department that already has a budget of $1 trillion, and now he's asking for another $200 billion. But he's saying we've got to focus all our money on defense of this country. That's the most important thing. Well, you have to figure out where you're going to get that money from, and he pointed that out too. He said, we got to stop messing with these little things like Medicare, Medicaid, daycare, healthcare. We got to stop focusing on these little scam programs. That's what he called it, a scam program, Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare, daycare. He calls that a scam. We've got to take money from that and put it into the Defense Department, which is already getting $1 trillion for a budget. Now, you Trumplefucks, I know there's Trumplefucks out there that have kids, probably in daycare. I know there's plenty of Trumplefucks out there on Medicare and Medicaid. Are you willing to give up your security, your money, to support your Lord and Savior, Donald Trump? No, I didn't fucking think so. So it's time you fucking wake up. and understand that this is what's been going on for the full year of this term and all 4 years of the first term. Donald Trump is taking money from you and giving it to rich people. We've tried to tell you this. I do this every fucking day. I've tried to tell you. Now Donald Trump himself said it. Of course, they tried to take down this video, but the internet is for life. Somebody recorded it, downloaded it, and it's running all over the place. And you know where you're going to see it the most? Come election time, come the campaign. That cut, that take, Donald Trump actually saying that will be in tons and tons of commercials. And that's going to hit you in the face every fucking time. And then try to support your Lord and Savior, Donald motherfucking Trump.
It's 9 a.m. West Coast time on Thursday. I think it's April 2nd. It's now being widely reported, according to some White House sources, that Donald Trump has informed Pam Bondi that she's going to be removed from her position shortly as Attorney General for the United States. And first of all, it's just like, she served in that position for, 14 months and was utterly consumed with failed prosecutions, inability to get grand jury indictments. But overall, the last 14 months of her life have been utterly consumed with Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein files and covering up for Donald Trump in those files. I mean, that's been at the top of her to-do list every single day for 14 months. And, Donald Trump put a woman in as Attorney General. He put a woman in as Secretary of Homeland Security. Because Donald Trump doesn't like women, and he enjoys firing women. Kash Patel is firmly secure in his position, as are Scott Bessent and Howard Nutlick and all the rest of them. But, I think Pam Bondi's like 60, so she's got another 25 or 30 years of life left ahead of her, and her entire legacy is going to be the last 14 months of her life. Her entire legacy is going to be distilled down to a single photograph of her testifying before Congress and 8 or 10 Epstein survivors standing behind her, 2 rows behind her, and her refusing to look at them with a smirk on her face. That photograph is her obituary. That photograph and her conduct over the last 14 months relative to Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump are the only things that she's going to be remembered for. That is what she's going to be known for the rest of her life. Good luck going to a restaurant, Pam. Good luck going to a movie. Good luck going out in public.
I'm not MAGA, please don't scroll. I got a moral compass and a soul. Eva Braun got fired today. Pam Bondi. And make no mistake, she didn't get fired because she was doing a bad job. She got fired because she wasn't doing a bad enough job, covering up for Donald Trump in the e-files. Trump ordering her to go after political prosecutions, the thing today that MAGA screams that the Biden DOJ did. All the Fox News personalities crying. That one Scott Jennings guy with his smug smirk on his face crying the same thing today, that Biden weaponized the DOJ. And I blame Biden and Garland for not actually doing their damn job and weaponizing the DOJ enough. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today. The POTUS is a pedo and a war criminal and the most corrupt president in U.S. history, and is racist and is misogynist and is anti-Christ-like. But hey, for interim Attorney General Todd Blanche, aka Trump's personal attorney, I am Antifa, and I'm not in the e-files. Come after me. And those that do, you may eventually drop me, but not before I drop 10 to 15 of you fuckers first. Because I am Antifa, and I'm nowhere to be found in the e-files. Donald Trump is, though.
Actually yesterday, and even about a week ago, it was rumored. It was rumored that Tulsi Gabbard and Pam Bondi were out. They weren't working to Trump standards, which they were working. That is not to Trump standards. Apparently, they're not willing to do everything that Trump wants them to do. Apparently, Pam Bondi won't, invent names in the Schmepstein files. I will say, I give respect to Pam Bondi because she's not stupid. She will definitely be brought to trial at some point, but she seemingly hasn't perjured herself once. I mean, she looks insane screaming about the Dow, but she hasn't actually said anything or really done anything to truly get herself in trouble. But when people were talking about the rumors earlier today, she might be out, I was like, remember he tacos? I mean, all she has to do is call him daddy and he'll keep her around. But he actually did fire her. I guess this means she can fly out and be all warm and cuddly and sympathetic to Kristi Noem. Because those are just two women who, they radiate warmth and comfort. So Trump is going to replace Pam Bondi with an even less qualified current head of the EPA, but apparently he's willing to make up shit about the Schmepstein files in order to arrest more Democrats and cover up for more Republicans who are definitely in the files. Because that's how you do. To anybody who is surprised about this, do you not remember the last Trump administration and how many people cycled through that administration? Nobody has sticking power. Either their olfactory senses just tell them they have to quit. They find some smidgen of a soul, or at least their lawyer is like, you're going to go down for this, and it's not going to be a good crime. You and Giuliani are going to be friends. Or they literally can't do their job and Trump just gets frustrated because they ask questions. There's that guy here on TikTok pretending Trump is dead in 22 days, or at least out of office. It's going to be interesting to see, how much more trouble can Trump cause before he's gone, or does he actually go? Because Lord knows we all want him to go. But be prepared for another release of the Schmepstein files, where all of Trump's enemies somehow magically get listed with crimes that were formerly associated with Trump. I mean, I have no real hope for these people ever facing consequences, because, what's her name? Gigi Hadid's mom? It's right there in the email. She sold her daughter's asses to creepy old men. Literal, the ass of her daughters. People are still watching Beverly Hills, whatever it is. I honestly don't think we're ever going to see anybody in these Schmepstein files come to justice, but it's going to be interesting to see what this new hire gets around to. How empty is your soul that you go in after Pam Bondi and no, I can get it done, sir. I can go even lower. There are just not enough showers to cleanse yourself after the Trump administration is on your resume.
They are straight up comparing Trump to Jesus in the White House leading up to Easter. I forgot that Donald Trump is the reason for the season. I must have missed that Sunday school class. And you guys know that I get really fucking annoyed when this app tries to tell me that there's some specific topic that is off limits to me. Let's just listen to his spiritual advisor compare him to Jesus.
Mr. President, no one has paid the price like you have paid the price. It almost cost you your life. You were betrayed and arrested, falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us.
Now, I would show you all the other clips from that prayer meeting that I carefully curated and clipped for you and edited down to get rid of all of those dramatic Christian pauses to make you feel things that don't actually exist, okay? But they're not going to show you this video if I put those up here. They compared him not only to Jesus, but they compared him to Esther in the Bible, and that he is here on earth to defeat the evil Persian regime, to protect Israel and the Jewish people. They also gave him credit for single-handedly bringing about a Christian revival in Venezuela because of his military actions there. And they said that he's anointed by God because God himself saved him from being assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. As I mentioned in the video that I just posted, that's a lot more thorough and a lot more detailed and comes with receipts, and they're not going to show you. This is as close to an American version of a caliphate as you can possibly get, a Christian caliphate here in the United States. They're centralizing all the power to one leader that is deified. They're trying to push a Christian version of Sharia law onto us without our consent. They have an explicit religious agenda, and above all, and what makes this distinct from just common everyday textbook Christian nationalism is that these people actually believe that Donald Trump is a direct descendant, a successor to the Christ himself.
Karoline Leavitt does not like being held accountable. Karoline Leavitt does not like getting fact-checked. Karoline Leavitt is running out of options and panicking from having to defend Trump lie after fiasco after lie after cover-up after fiasco after lie every single day. Karoline Leavitt was asked about the fact that Iran has completely denied any negotiations are taking place. Trump said, we're making big progress on negotiations. Iran said, huh? We're not negotiating. Trump said, we've got a 15-point plan, and they've agreed to most of those points. And Iran said, huh? We haven't agreed to any of these points. And so Karoline Leavitt is asked, how do you explain the discrepancy? And Karoline Leavitt says, I think the American people know who to believe. I don't know about that, Karoline.
We just heard from Iran again. They're saying no negotiations are taking place. They're calling the proposal excessive, unrealistic. So how do you square that? How do you explain that discrepancy between the two?
I think the American people are smart enough not to take the word of a terrorist regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years at their word. And I hope the journalists in this room are wise enough not to take an Iranian regime that has repeatedly lied about our country, about our values, about everyone in this room, frankly, for nearly 5 decades. So
listen, the Iranian regime is a terrible, theocratic, extremist regime. There's no question about that. But Trump lies all the time also. So if the idea is go by who regularly tells you the truth, Trump or the Iranian regime, that's a pretty difficult one because Trump lies constantly.
Hey, you want to hear a good joke? You want to hear? So a lady walks into a bar and then So this pedo protecting bitch is gone. After all of the shit that she's been doing and all the laws she's been breaking, covering up for the Epstein files, completely ignoring the victims, she was finally ousted because she made the dear leader look like a fucking idiot. Not that he needs any help. She's been spearheading his movement for a long time now to end birthright citizenship, even going on TV to say that citizenship is a privilege. But after Trump went to the Supreme Court oral arguments yesterday and his lawyers got laughed at by the Supreme Court, Trump has to find somebody to blame and throw under the bus because he can't possibly take the blame upon himself, right? So just like Kristi Noem, he decided to fire her. And I really look forward to her being in cuffs any day now. He got on Turd Social to say, we love Pam and she'll be transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector to be announced at a date in the near future. Remember when he said the same thing about Kristi Noem when he fired her and she was going to be given a nice cushy job over at his secret defense initiative that doesn't exist? This is him saying, fuck you, Pam, I hope you can't get a job as a divorce lawyer. Problem is, now she's a liability because Pam Bondi has been covering up for his horrific crimes, including trafficking, for years. But the hilarious thing is, whether she ends up in cuffs or something else happens to her, I think I would give the same few shits, because she is an absolutely horrible, immoral, detestable human being. I'm ecstatic that she got fired. Now it's time for her to go to fucking prison.
President Donald Trump posted to Truth Social saying that Pam Bondi did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country. He wrote, "We love Pam, and she will be transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector, to be announced at a date in the near future," meaning she's not going to be offered another government role. Which is not surprising because Bondi's tenure as Attorney General is not what he said. Behind the scenes, Trump fired her after months of growing frustration, according to insiders leaking information to the right-wing outlets, the Daily Mail and Fox News, while publicly praising her as a great American patriot who did a tremendous job. But that gap between the public message and private reality tells you everything you need to know about her time in office, which leaves behind a legacy defined by a series of very public and very consequential missteps. Starting very early last year when she went on national television and suggested that
the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
Implied that explosive revelations were imminent, after which her department acts, and instead of a full release, Bondi's team handed out binders labeled classified to pro-Trump influencers, documents that contained information that had already been public for years. And the backlash was immediate, from Trump's own base and the influencers who were holding the binders themselves, because it was very clear that it was a publicity stunt that had trivialized the victims and overpromised transparency, which would become a theme throughout her tenure.
There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath. You said there's no evidence of crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement.
Months later, despite her earlier claims on the most watched cable news network in the country, the Justice Department announced that there was no such client list, deepening distrust. And that's about when Congress steps in to pass legislation, forcing the release of the files, effectively taking control of the situation out of Bondi's hands. And after prolonged delays, Bondi's department released only a fraction of the millions of documents available before halting again, citing the need for further review and prolonging the controversy while certainly keeping the story alive. And at this point, the Epstein saga is exploding, becoming a complete liability for Trump himself, with his own allies openly criticizing Bondi's handling of the issue.
He was at a cabinet meeting, and clearly she was trying to run cover on this issue and change the subject from Epstein when she got asked a question to the Dow, the surging Dow, like, hey, look at this. It's so much better. Look what Trump did. And it was just inept.
Because don't forget that there have been multiple presidents that have had these files in their possession and for whatever reason have not released them or made an effort to release them, one of them being President Trump himself during his first term. But this is the first administration in history and Justice Department to be pressured to release them and actually pass a law requiring their release while still, for whatever reason, not releasing them. In other words, breaking the law by not releasing them. But Epstein wasn't her only failure. Bondi repeatedly struggled to deliver on Trump's demands to prosecute political opponents, with cases against figures like James Comey completely falling apart in court for reasons like the judge not being able to tell if the trial was corrupted by Trump-appointed Lindsay Halligan, who already lost her job over the ordeal, or by Pam Bondi's Justice Department, leading to the entire case being thrown out over basic procedural issues being either neglected due to inexcusable and irreversible errors or outright corruption. And then there were the American citizens murdered by ICE agents when, under Pam Bondi's leadership, Minnesota officials were blocked from investigating the ICE agents and directed by her to instead focus on investigations involving the victims and their families, which was actually a pressure cited by top state officials as their reasons for resonating after respected tenures. And throughout all of this, she maintained a consistent posture, defending the administration, backing its priorities, and rarely ever pushing back publicly. In fact, when she felt the heat the most, she always had the same defense. How dare you criticize Donald Trump's administration? Which is what makes her ousting so telling. Because despite that loyalty, despite reshaping the department in alignment with Trump's very personal agenda, she ultimately failed at the one thing that mattered most in this moment: controlling the narrative. Her handling of the Epstein files was one of the biggest scandals in American history, but more concerning for Donald Trump's administration, she was a credibility crisis. And in the end, that crisis defined Bondi's tenure and inevitably ended it.
So the other night, Trumpy gave his rambling, low-energy speech to the nation about what's going on with Iran. I could watch literally for less than 2 minutes. Here's what I heard. Trump once again bragging about having given the U.S. the greatest economy ever. Okay, that's a lie. It simply wasn't. There have been many times when America was doing better economically. What Trump did was take the Obama economy and not ruin it. But then, and this is what really pisses me off, he said that when he took over from Biden, the country was dead. Dead. The worst. Everything was the worst, and he had to take it over because the U.S. was dead. And now it's, quote, the hottest country in the world. What the hell is he talking about? First of all, Trump lost to Biden because Trump mishandled, bungled the response to COVID. That's primarily why Biden won. And yeah, when Biden left office, inflation was high. But wait a minute. The world was still feeling the effects of COVID and supply chain issues. And which country in the entire world did the best to recover from COVID? Yeah, that would be Biden's economy. That's why The Economist magazine more than once headlined their issue that the U.S. economy is, quote, the envy of the world. Far from dead. So Trump lies and lies again, and nobody pushes back on it. And people who are not news junkies just say, well, he's the president. He's probably telling the truth. He isn't. He just lies and lies and lies some more. It's pathetic that he does that. Even more pathetic is that the media lets him get away with it. And more pathetic still is that the Democrats, and especially the Republicans, don't point out that everything he's saying is a lie. But that's where we are today. That's the U.S. under Trump. Sad, sad.